Good afternoon again. Has your lunch all settled in? That could be good, that could be bad. I'll try to get you through. I'll try to get you through to the next speaker. Well, I'm grateful to be here on behalf of Michigan State University Extension. And at Extension, as some of you may or may not know, the idea of taking research and applying that to critical situations in life is exactly what we do. And we do finance and home ownership as part of Michigan State University Extension. We've got a work team that is not as big as it used to be. It was much bigger during the financial crisis, but we're down to about 12 or 13 right now. But we do try to serve all of the counties of the state of Michigan. We're active and have offices in every county with the exception of a couple, but that doesn't mean we neglect those two that we don't have. So that just want to get that plug in there for Extension. But I'm a practitioner. I'm a practitioner in many ways. Before I came to Extension, I practiced law for about 19 years. And the latter half of my law practice was predominantly done in consumer bankruptcy law. Let's see if they changed that here or not. And so I had the opportunity to be involved in a little over 650 bankruptcy cases, which was a good experience. Sometimes it could be, in bankruptcy, a little bit depressing over time. It can lead to burnout, but you hear a lot of stories, you see a lot of household budgets, you see folks who are going through a lot of the trauma that we've talked about today. With Extension, I served and serve a little different role, but I do provide education in regard to foreclosures. So that makes sense in foreclosure intervention and prevention. So we do that along with the Step Forward Michigan funds and trying to assist people in gaining access to those funds. And also being a bridge to their lenders when they find themselves in the difficult situations that Dr. Toby had mentioned, and where they're lacking that ability and I actually have fear in communicating with those lenders. So we do a lot of that. But also in Extension, and I know that Steve's programs emphasize this as well, we provide basic money management education. These are the how-tos. This is the education, the basic building blocks. We got this working at? Here, nice. These are the how-tos of how to manage our money. Those things that maybe some of us take for granted. So we teach basic things like how to communicate about money, how to make basic financial decisions, how to create a spending plan, how to deal with debt, how to use credit wisely. Those are some of the how-tos that many of us take for granted that are in our financial toolbox, and you want to think, where did we get that information? Where did we get that knowledge? We also have home ownership education programs. As part of attempting to help those who are seeking the American dream of home ownership, we are trying to teach the basics of home ownership. Is home ownership right for that individual, that couple that's before us? Is there another alternative? And we think of the American dream. Just stable housing can be the American dream for many folks. Along with that, we help navigate the mortgage financing system and the closing table and what to expect at that. So there's a lot of education that is provided. However, there has to be that understanding, and then, as Dr. Toby mentioned, that understanding then placed along with and alongside action leads to that capability. So that's what we're there for. So we're just moving those along, that's fine. So as I look at the paragraph that describes this form, and I don't want to take up my time without addressing some of these questions, and I know we're going to have in the question and answer sessions. But what does it mean, or what are the challenges for families as they move upward to a secure socioeconomic status? How might we make certain that the American dream is still in reach for all Michigan residents? These are big questions. These are big questions. So how do we do that? So we are actually active out in the field with folks who are receiving the Earned Income Tax Credit, with folks who are striving to receive cash assistance in other forms or education assistance. And we're providing those education classes. I put on here some of the, if you see Rose Grant, home ownership foreclosure, and financial capability. Those are numbers of participants in those programs. I isolated the Rose Grant because it deals with 2 Southwest Michigan counties, Muskegon County and Kent County. And the income for the greater percentage of those folks is less than $18,000 a year. And we have a participation rate of over 80% who are female, most of the time single moms, and are struggling. We can go ahead and next slide. And there's some of those statistics. And the average household for most of those in the Rose Grant are about 3, and I don't have the number in here for our money management programs, but that's about the same size, and about 2 for the home ownership programs. But if you think about that, so the majority of those folks are right at 100% of the poverty level. And they are struggling. So what does it mean for them to receive some of this cash assistance? What does it mean to them to take that next step to the American dream? Well, as I listened to the research, it's stated that cash assistance or the EITC or social welfare associated with work does work. And that is true. That essentially that's a work program that they're receiving the money. But on the other hand, do they know how to use what they've received to the benefit of their household? And that's where the education comes in. And then taking that next step and reaching that point of capability. And so what is the answer? What are some of the stories? Well, with many of the participants who are struggling, when they receive that money, they are in a battle. They're in a war. We saw the number there, about 42%, I believe, was the number. Excuse me just a minute. That would pay off debt. And that's because the next battle, when they receive that relief, is to get rid of that monster that's in the room. And that monster in that case is the debt. So they have to take care of it. This is true whether it be in a city setting or in a rural setting. In a rural setting, it may be the lack of transportation. We find that the lack of transportation to and from the job with a car that's broken down, when they get that large influx of money, then it takes repairs, and it takes that money just to get that reliable transportation up to speed so that they can work. We see with the homeowner or with the foreclosure program, the Step Forward Michigan funds, that these funds are bringing money back into the state or the county treasurer's coffers, and that's helping out the local community. And the question is, when that money comes in and when they're able to get that relief, does that solve the issue? Are they able to move on? Some of the questions that I see that comes up is, what garners participation in these programs? What will get someone to come to a program to learn how to set up a budget and maintain a budget? What will get someone to come to a program and actually put into place practices that will allow them to set goals and gain control over their financial circumstances? And what works best? Is it the fear of losing something that they would otherwise be able to keep if they didn't participate in the program? Is it a reward system where we get a reward if we participate in the program? Some of the challenges that we face, we have to understand through those eyes. And we all bring biases into every situation. And when it comes to those who are fighting generational poverty, you look at, well, the upkeep of their households is not good. It's dilapidated neighborhoods. Some of the programs that I'm involved with are for building up and strengthening neighborhoods and giving education for those who participate. But if they get that assistance, then they take care of the next most important thing, and they don't always have the money to go ahead and paint the house or fix the siding. And so they need assistance. So those are difficult issues. So just because you have the knowledge and just because you put it into practice, it doesn't necessarily take care of these issues. So the challenge is how do we get from that place where we have the assistance and we have the help to that next step where there's a plan and a focus and a goal. And as a practitioner, the two things that I've learned over the years is that a plan is better than no plan. A goal is absolutely necessary. And so those two things, we come around, and I think the research shows that a goal and a plan to achieve that goal are the two most important things that can be instilled. So what is needed next? Is it financial help? Is it financial help linked to education classes? Is it financial help with some nudges along the way, like Dr. Toby said, or that information given just in time? Those are some of the important policy questions that have to be answered. And from the experience that I've had working with clients over the years, it takes a combination of that, and it takes an understanding and a patience, and it takes a repeated message. Just like a message, any message in a marketing sense is repeated over and over, these concepts have to be repeated over and over. And the assistance has to be offered. So some of this research in regard to just in time or nudges and giving information at a critical time or reminders could be very valuable. But those are some of the questions that I think need to be discussed, and some of the research that needs to be looked into is when is the appropriate time, and what link do we need to have when we connect programs like the Earned Income Tax Credit? Is it just work, or should that be linked to financial education? Much like the housing program, if you want to get down payment assistance, you have to complete a homeownership education class. There's that linkage there. So those are some of the things. And I apologize for being mixed up just a little bit. I have my slides, and I make them available to you if they're not sent out to everybody. You can give me your email address, and I will send them out. And I've got some more statistics from some of the research that and some of the groups that we're working with. Thank you very much.